Hey, this is PR Brown.
Hey, this is Adam Gubman.
Hey, this is Matt Roberts.
Hello, my name's Joe Gash. And
hi, this is Braden Berry from Say We Can Fly.
Hi, I'm Tommy Avallone. I make some silly movies from time to time, and you're listening to the Chronicles of Podcast.
Hi guys, how's it going? Welcome to another edition. Should we say 73? 73rd edition of the Chronicles of Podcast. And there's a wave. Oh, right now. Damn it. Okay, we've got a show to record. I do believe, Jamie, that these Chronicles just about there.
Yep.
Are the Chronicles of Tommy Avallone.
Yeah, they are. Ooh, it's a good one.
Wonderful. It is a very good one. Strap yourselves in. Shall we bring that piece in, Jamie Westwood?
Oh, yes, we should, sir.
Welcome to the Chronicles of Tommy Avallone.
Tommy Avallone is an incredible filmmaker and director, but not normal films. Well, he has in the past, but he is known for making incredible documentaries about subjects you would not expect, like what? The rock band GWAR, Santa Clauses, Barney the Dinosaur, and so many more. These are absolutely fantastic. I wanted Tommy on the show for a long time, so I'm so happy we got to do this. This is amazing.
Like Jamie said, he's the man behind This Is GWAR, I Am Santa Claus, Ghost Heads. There's so much more on there as well. Unbelievable. And some great documentaries that are frustratingly as hard to get in Britain. I've looked. Yeah. I'd like to watch those little mothers. And there's one about houses on the way. But we'll let the man tell you himself. Jamie!
Yes, sir.
Do you supposedly have any final words?
Just a massive thank you to our guest. Like I said, I wanted to talk to Tommy for a long time, so I'm so happy we got to do this. Thank you so much for sitting down with us, sir. And yeah, just phenomenal. I'm also very jealous of you, and you'll find out why during this.
Tommy, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak to us, my friend. We really appreciate it, and for moving the date as well, because I know that can be annoying as hell. So apologies, but thank you so much for taking the time out. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, interviewing this week, it's Tommy Avallone. Yeah.
How are you guys doing?
Very well. Very been looking forward to this, so I'm good.
Nice. Where are you guys located?
We're in the UK.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm in England, he's in Wales.
Yeah.
We were in St. Andrews and London when we filmed Bill Murray stories.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then we played the BFI there, and that was awesome.
Nice.
That's incredible. It's always good over here, though. You know it's better over here, Tommy. Come on, let's be real, yeah?
I'll tell you, it's so I'm from the Philadelphia area, and I told I'd been to London once for when we filmed Bill Murray stories, and then I had my friend come when we went to play BFI, and I was like, oh, it's just like going to Philly, but everything's on the opposite side. because it's like, Philly's very everyone came from there and landed in like that area. So it was this you can tell where Philadelphia got its inspiration from,
I love it.
I love London. Everything's super expensive. We took the train down to Camden, and I got my picture next to the Amy Winehouse statue. So
yeah.
Nice. Who's the wrestling buddy behind you? At least I think it's.
That's Andy Kaufman.
Oh yes, I can make it. Yes, I can make it out.
That's Andy Kaufman. That's the Bill Murray head. And yeah.
Amazing. But before we start, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Really appreciate it. What we normally do is I do a little intro, lure you in with a false sense of security, as Tom likes to say, and then we just bombard the living hell out of you with questions.
Okay, sounds good. You can hear me okay? I don't have to plug in a microphone or anything like that?
It's coming through okay to me?
Cool.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Let's do this little intro. Ladies and gentlemen, today we bring you an amazing guest who has dedicated his career to making incredible documentaries all about fascinating subjects that will open your eyes to things you didn't even know you wanted to learn about. Like what? How about Bill Murray conspiracy theories, the rock band GWAR, Santa Claus, and even Barney the Dinosaur? After this interview, we will all be able to say, I know Tommy Avallone because these are the Chronicles of Tommy Avallone.
Nice. If you want to pretend like you know me, you can always buy my T-shirt. I know Tommy Avallone T-shirt.
That was why I put that in the intro because
I love that. It's funny. It's very funny. That was a bit I did like in my early 20s. Like I just got the shirts printed that I said I knew Tommy Avallone, and I thought it was so funny. And then working with like the Pro Wrestling Tees people, I was like, oh, that'd be fun to put that back up there, you know. So it's good times.
Amazing. Just picked up then. I pronounced your surname incorrect, didn't I?
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's Tommy Avallone, but everyone says it wrong, so I never correct, you know. And to be fair, I say so many people's names wrong that it's just a conversation that we're gonna have one day, and nothing will ever be right, you know.
I think your surname would sound amazing in an Italian accent. Avallone! What's going on?
Yeah. My dad will be like selectively Italian. You know, we're all from South Jersey, but like he'd be like, oh, you know, mozzarella. You know, it's like, you know, it's like, you know, you're just so selective. You know.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. But Tommy, I know it was a while ago now, but how was your holiday season? Did you have a good Crimbo in New Year?
Yeah. I mean, Christmas is good. Yeah, I mean, like it's always stressful around the holidays, but it was good times. How about you?
Yeah, I actually can't remember. What did I do? Oh, yeah, I just saw family, saw my family, saw the other house family. Just a lot of like toing and froing, I think. A lot of going out everywhere.
Yeah,
Not
I mean,
really
you
relaxing.
asked the question, and it's like, it's been like a month and like 2 days since Christmas. And I'm like, I can't remember.
January is that long.
Yeah.
Dave just said that. I was putting into it. Yeah, it was only a month and 2 days ago. It feels like so much longer ago.
Yeah,
it does. I mean, it is January 536, you know, so you know, it's been a crazy ass January. Let me be honest with you. Okay, in that case, then, how about your pandemic season? I know it's still kind of around-ish.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really leave the house, you know. Like I've been really just editing this documentary called The House From, and I've just been doing a lot of that sort of stuff. I just came from lunch with my friend who I had wings and a couple beers, so you know, so everything's fine, you know. It's funny, like, so I'd be curious, like, me and my wife were talking about this the other day, because like I have a bunch of friends who have like British accents, you know, and I'm like, everything they say is so much, it sounds like so much smarter, you know. But like on the flip side, I'd be curious, like, when you come across an American, do you just think we're all idiots?
No.
Because I remember when we were filming Bill Murray stories, it would have been 2016, and we were in St. Andrews, and one of the guys there was like, oh, you know, you're old 45. And I was like, you know, not everyone's like a Trump guy. Like I was like, it was interesting for the first time. I had someone look at me as like I would probably look at someone from Kansas or Kentucky, you know? And I was like, I wonder if like foreign countries, me and my wife have been talking about this a lot because we want to like do, she's never been to Europe, but I've been to like Scotland and London. And I was like, I wonder what other people think of like us. And I always assume that like this thing we're like a bunch of like Southern hicks. And like I was just curious if that was like the case.
No, I'll admit the proper Southern accents do sound a little bit, you know, but your accent and pretty much every American guest we spoke to, I haven't ever sat there going, you sound like an idiot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's certain, like, I mean, there's fun accents like Boston. It's like, you know, you're just like, you know, it's crazy, and some of the hard New York stuff. But like my accent, like, so this right here, I say it wooder, you know, and that's how you can tell I'm from New Jersey. Is like that, the wood, you know. It's water, you know, but like my Jersey accent says wooder. And I was in New Orleans once, and they're like, oh yeah, another order of what? I was like, I'm saying water. Yeah.
So,
but when my one friend Charlie, he filmed our houses documentary, and he's from Manchester. And when he said the word vitamin, like I was like, I couldn't understand what he meant. It was like it was like vitamin, you know. It was just like so fast, and I couldn't. And my wife's like, he's saying vitamin. I just couldn't figure it out.
It's a vitamin.
Yeah.
So it must be crazy for you then if you talk to like a Geordie from Newcastle or a Scouser from Liverpool, because their accents are horrific. Like, I'm not going to even attempt to even try it, but even we go, what? You're from this island? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, well, it's just funny because anytime we would film with him, everyone was so inclined to go, oh, where are you from? You know, they always thought he was from Ireland, you know, because his accent was just, it's just a little bit different. I mean, it's just a bunch of people from California going, is that, you know, like, so I would never even guess, I could never guess where someone's accent is ever from, you know, unless it's Boston. Boston's pretty easy.
Let's think of Mark Wahlberg.
I was in Colorado 4 years ago and someone said I was Australian. I was like, really? I sound Australian? And I was actually quite tempted to be like, yeah, you know what, mate? I actually found from fucking Australia. Now you mention it, I'll just put the accent on just for the sake of it, yeah?
Guess what? That sounds no different to me. Well, your voice.
Really? Does it not?
It's all. It just all sounds the same to me, man.
That's mental.
Yeah.
That's actually.
I guess like there's a couple things that I could tell you were doing a bit because like the face that went with it, you know. But yeah, we don't have to talk about this. It was just one of those things where like.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I guess I just didn't know you guys were in the UK, so I was like, oh, that's interesting. So you know.
But sir, take us back to the days when you were a young boy. What did young Tommy want to be when he was growing up?
I guess like very, very, very young Tommy wanted to be like an artist and like a cartoon artist. Like I always loved drawing like Darkwing Duck and Scrooge McDuck and all that sort of stuff. Those were my favorite to do things. And I thought like, oh, that'd be fun to be like an animator of some kind. I got real into wrestling. I never wanted to be a wrestler, but I just I figured I'd mention wrestling. And then like Kevin Smith came around and I wanted to be Kevin Smith for a long time. Making scripted movies, and you know I would do a couple scripted movies and you know work with my friends, and I didn't feel like I was the best director, and I'm not sure like now looking back at it, it's like was I not a good director or were my friends not actors? And I think it's somewhere in the middle, you know. But then like I just randomly kind of fell into these docs. A scripted movie I produced played at a festival with Morgan Spurlock, and we kind of had like mutual friends. And I had this idea for the Santa Claus doc, and I brought it up to him. He's like, that's a great idea. You should do it. So that's kind of how I got into the doc stuff. You know, I've always been like, I'm not a traditional editor, but like I've always been pretty good at making something out of nothing, you know, and I feel like that's kind of docs.
Did you study filmmaking or anything, or did you sort of naturally gravitate towards it?
Yeah, I mean, when I was 11 years old, I just started borrowing my parents' camera, and we would just like redo like Mad TV skits, and you know, just like goof, like we put like pillows underneath our shirts and pretend we were fat, you know, like just stuff like that, you know, just like skits, you know. And I just kept doing it and doing. I guess it's like that 10,000 hour sort of thing. And I went to community college for filmmaking, but I just started learning all like the technical words for the things I already knew, and just got bored really fast. So I didn't continue.
That's awesome though, dude. Like, you know, if you're naturally talented at something, you don't need to.
It's not naturally. I was just doing it since I was 11. Like I just kind of like me and my friends would goof around. You know, I'm sure that there's a lot of insecurities I have because I don't know proper ways of doing things that maybe filmmaking, like a film school would have been good. But I don't know. There's a lot like any school I looked to, it just seemed like there was a lot of pretentious people there, and I just like I can't be around this, you know.
Is that why you decided to run for mayor at 20 in your hometown?
Yeah. So I am a huge Andy Kaufman fan, right?
Okay.
And I loved like the bits he would do. And when I was when I was in high school, I ran for student council president, and I just thought it was funny to make campaign commercials. You know, like it was like something that would make me laugh, and I just thought it was funny. I was like, I wonder if I can apply this same sort of thing, but like a real political office. I mean, it's a mayor. You're not getting paid for the small town. So like we kind of just did that. I would do like the Andy Kaufman bits where like I would give milk and cookies to the press who came. I had my friends dress up in suits, and they were Tommy's angels. They were my bodyguards, and it was just like goofy stuff. We had a rap song, and it's just a lot of like fun things. And that's actually why I stopped going to college, is because I was focused on my mayoral run. I was on CNN. It was fun stuff. And I stopped going to school, and then after my rail run, I lost. Understandably, I knew that would happen. But we were filming it for a documentary. I was like, oh, I can make a movie out of this. I still it felt like 10 hours of footage, which is not really much, but I'll do something with it eventually. But I thought it was funny, and I did, and I tried to go back to school. And then when I started trying to register, it just took really long, and I was like, I have to get it. I always feel like I always felt like school was for like doctors, lawyers, and suckers. You want your doctors and lawyers to go to college, but anyone else, they can figure it all out.
Yeah. Incredible. I'm gutted you lost. Gutted that you lost.
Yeah, it was funny. Like I still have all the video of it, especially the news coverage was funny because at the time Arnold Schwarzenegger was running for governor of California. So they would do these things. They'd be like, Arnold this. So like in local news, Tommy, 20-year-old, running for mayor. So it was always like, it was a natural sort of segue.
Incredible. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. But for you to move on to your career and start working on these documentaries, you must have had a love for the art form along the way. Where did that come from?
Love for the art form. Yeah, I always watched documentaries, but like when I started making documentaries, docs weren't the way we look at them now. They were still like, Morgan Spurlock and Michael Moore were really like the only names you knew in the game. It wasn't like these Netflix sort of shows now, or any streamer where you got your true crime or whatever doc. I loved wrestling documentaries. I love Beyond the Mat. I love all these sort of things. So Confessions of a Superhero was still one of my favorite documentaries ever. But that's when it really started playing around with like interesting subjects, where back then you're like, if it wasn't Morgan or Michael Moore, it would have been about like some war or some like, some serious topic, and docs weren't as fun. There was only a couple of people doing that. So probably it was like a small amount of. I remember seeing Super Size Me. I think Conan O'Brien had a documentary that kind of just came out. There was like a couple of different docs. So my love was always just for the scripted movies. So we try to do as much as what you would think a scripted narrative would be, but just in the doc space. I Am Santa Claus, which is my first documentary, was very, very much tailored after Beyond the Mat and Confessions of a Superhero. Beyond the Mat, you're watching, here's what you think of wrestlers, but now here's what they are when they're at home. What's a real wrestler's life look like? And Confessions of a Superhero, my friend Matt made that, and it's all about the people who dress like Superman and Batman at Hollywood Boulevard and what they're really like. So it's like it was very much in this sort of same veins. And that's sort of the formula I love doing, is like taking something that you always see and, just looking in a different way, whether it's Santa Claus, Bill Murray stories, even Barney, or more of a serious stuff, my movie, Waldo and Weed, which was a friend of mine's son had eye cancer at 6 months old, and they started using cannabis oil to counteract the results of the chemo. It's like, whereas many people would see like, should a 6-month-old be taking cannabis? You're like, you think of it just as like a name in a paper, but we were able to tell the story of a family and what would a father do to save his son. So I feel like I talked too long on that answer.
No, you're good. You talk as much as you like, Tommy. Honestly, we talk fucking loads, so we prefer it when the guest that goes on. So you want to ramble? You fucking ramble, all right? I'm firstly, before I get into the Walden on Weed, I'm going to massively question the fact that you're a JAS fan. That's straight away.
I love Jericho.
Jericho is probably one of the biggest legends in the history of ever. I just can't get on with this with the society. I don't know if it's because he's getting on so much now that he needs other people just to make him still look good, maybe.
Oh, dude, he's got those abs now. He's crazy. Like Jericho's great. Like I'm friends with Jericho. Like, and I text him when this like the Jericho Appreciation Society came out. I was like, dude, what a great idea, you know? And he was like, it's almost like I know what I'm doing, you know. That was like, but no, Jericho's great. I love him. Talk about someone who just like does exactly what he wants, you know. So yeah, and I also have when Barney, I Love You, You Hate Me came out. That was my first like go at it with the big leagues. You know, all my other movies have been independently funded and put out that way, and this was the first time I worked with a network. So I bought myself the Eagle belt right there from WWE. WWF.
Oh. The best belt ever made.
It is, right?
Oh, there it is. It is the best championship ever.
Should I just hold on to it the whole time when we?
Yeah.
I might change the way I talk. I might start cutting a promo. Can you do one of these when you're done? You just kind of
kiss the belt before you put it down.
But no, the whole concept of the Waldo on Weed sort of thing, like I think, is fascinating in a way. Like I'm going to definitely go and try and find that now online after this.
It's on Documentary Plus. Oh, you know what? No, it's we have it on iTunes over in the UK. So I think we have it on Amazon, iTunes, and Google. I think over by you guys.
Sweet, I'll find it. Don't worry. Obviously, the natural way, the normal way, Tommy. I wouldn't ever cheat you. Yeah.
Thank you.
But I mean, like you said, like how far would a father go to save his son? I feel that people are like, oh, you shouldn't be giving kids this. You shouldn't be giving kids. Like, thanks for that, internet warrior. Like, I'm going to do what I see as necessary. Like, why should I be like, oh, do you know what? This person in the newspaper said that I shouldn't. So, do you know what? We're not going to. Sorry, guys.
You're so far removed. You're so far removed when it's just like a word on a blog or a story like that, you know. So to like, you know, it's so funny. Like, and look, I don't smoke. Like, I'm not like a person that's always been like, I love weed and all that sort of stuff. But like to me, it's like it was always just a story about like what a father would do to save his son, and it was interesting to me to talk to a couple different politicians who, you know, the side of the politics they are on would typically think they would not be for cannabis, you know, but then once they get sick and they need something and there's that last resort is a cannabis, they're like, oh, well, maybe we should pass this. It's nothing ever changes until like it personally affects you, you know? And I found that to be very, very interesting. And like the thing about Waldo is funny because it's the doc that no one mentions about mine. You know, people always like, you know, Bill Murray and then Barney, you know, like there's like this gap. And like Whoopi Goldberg was our executive producer. It premiered at Tribeca. Like the reviews were like great, you know, but it's my only doc that's like serious, but it's actually my favorite one because it's like, I think it's the most well made, you know. It's my friend Brian was the father and he had like a flip cam. And he would just film himself throughout the whole process, not trying to make a documentary, but just like his own sort of therapy. And we just took that footage along with our own interviews and made this like story about it. So, and you know, Whoopi gave us great notes. So it was great to put that together. Opposed to like Bill Murray stories or Santa, it's like there's like a, you know, Bill Murray, it's whatever, but like Santa we only followed them for like a year. Like that movie's a document of a year. Whereas I might have only worked on Waldo for a year and a half, but Brian, the father, had been filming for 4 to 5 years. So you're seeing this story, like someone drastically before they had a child is different than when they had a child with cancer. And it's like, it's really interesting to see that growth within the character, you know?
I'm almost scared to ask this, but how's Waldo now?
Oh, he's fine. I can't remember how old he is. I mean, this is not Dear Zachary. Don't worry. I'm not sure if you guys get that reference. It's a really depressing documentary. I mean, it's a great movie, but depressing. But no, Waldo's fine. I don't know how old he is, but he's totally fine. He's so tall now too, and crazy. All these kids do this thing called growing. It's weird.
Nuts.
It's annoying. We briefly mentioned the I Am Santa Claus documentary. It was your first one. So I remember seeing this years ago when it first came out. But for those unaware, what is I Am Santa Claus about?
There's these mall Santas, or people who dress like or portray Santa Claus and have a full beard. And we wanted to know what family they went home to after Christmas and what does their life look like when they're Santa Claus all year round. So we followed these 5 different Santas. There was a gay Santa. There was a guy who legally changed his name to Santa Claus. There was a Santa Claus in Detroit who, lost his job, got divorced, started living with his daughter, and really found himself in a depression. But by being Santa, really lifted himself out of it. And then there's Mick Foley, who is a professional wrestler who wanted to try being Santa for the first time. So we follow around this world of which these people are Santa, and we found like there's a Santa Claus that was in charge of a swingers club in Portland. There's the Amalgamated Order of Real Bearded Santas, the Fraternal Order of Real Bearded Santas. It's a crazy story in that they're all human. We've all done these crazy things, but for that minute that they're with your kid, they're perfect. And it's that magic of Christmas in that way. I was never a big Christmas fan, but making this doc, I got a little bit more into the holiday because it is all about love and all this sort of people just trying to be better versions of themselves. And it was a fun doc to make. It came out 2014. So
getting Mick Foley for also.
Yeah, no, go on.
I was going to say, getting Mick Foley for your first documentary, that's nuts. How did that come about? Did you just approach him or?
Well, I try to put a wrestler in everything we do, right? And for years, we were worked with Blue Meanie. We put Jim the Anvil Neidhart in something, Al Snow, Tommy Dreamer. And when we were making this doc, we're like, well, how do you put a wrestler in a documentary about Santa Claus? How does that naturally, not casting, how does that work? And one friend was like, Mick Foley's real into Santa. He has a Christmas room in his house. It was written in his books that he has this Christmas room. So it was well known, if you were a big mark, that he was a Santa Claus fanatic. So I reached out to Dreamer and I was like, is there any way you can introduce me to Foley? And he did, and I'd already been kind of I knew Barry Blaustein for a little bit because of a big fan of Beyond the Mat. And when I wanted to make a documentary, I reached out to some of the doc directors that I was big fans of. And they all got back to me because they're doc filmmakers. They're not like Steven Spielberg or anything like that, especially at that time, So it was great to get I was able to pick the brains of all these people that I was fans of, and Barry was helpful in some of the ways in which I'm just your first time blues, how do you do this? How do you do that? So I think it was with the help of Barry and then Dreamer. And then I worked with some of the boys before, it just worked out. And Mick liked it. And then he was just really a subject until we bleached his hair white to be Santa. And then he came on as a producer. I'm in New Jersey, right outside Philly. So he would go to Monday Night Raw in Brooklyn and just drive over to my house and we'd edit all night. He's my son's first Santa Claus. So he's this family friend now. So it's great. But it just worked out by just, if you know Tommy Dreamer, you know everyone, and Dreamer's the best. He's been very helpful for me for my whole career. So
that's incredible. What gave you the concept of I want to film Santas? Where was the general just from seeing one in the mall?
Yeah. Me and my wife saw one in the mall, and I was just I wonder what home this guy goes home to. That was it. That was the question. Mental. And then when I ran into Morgan Spurlock and I told him about the idea, and he, him being this big doc director, him saying that's a good idea, you should do that. It was kind of enough sort of ammo that I needed, And we just started reaching out to different Santas on Facebook and sort of talking to them like we would be talking here. I just call them up and kind of interview them. And we found our cast, and we did 2 Kickstarters for that one. That was on Netflix for 3 years. It's funny. Mick went to promote on the Daily Show when Jon Stewart was there.
Oh yeah.
And Mick mentioned my name, and Jon Stewart, he's like, "Oh yeah, the director Tommy Avallone," and Jon Stewart was like, I don't make up names." Yeah. And I thought that was funny, and I was in the green room. I didn't get to meet John though, but it was cool.
I am real, John.
Yeah. Mick goes, "He's in the green room." Yeah.
Okay, just like you say, you're a huge wrestling fan. That must be so surreal to see this guy who's like thrown off the top of the Hell in the Cell to then like be in your house editing, dressing up as Santa. It must be just like such a surreal moment.
It is. It really, really is. And it wasn't until like I guess maybe last year when I think it was like A&E did that doc on him, and back to back he was on like Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast, and he just reminded me like how great Mick was. Not that I ever forgot it, but he just became like a friend, like a person that like we just talked about Santa Claus, and that's about it, you know. And you see all this like gruesome stuff he used to do. We're like, I just remember texting him. I was like, man, I forgot how great you were, or are really, but like just like his career, you know, was so great. And because I never met that Mick, you know, I know the Mick that's like Santa Claus and does like stand-up comedy, and like, you know, Mick put out another book he put a book out about his time of being Santa. Like I mentioned in it, you know, like it's just like, so that's like this really, really weird, because it's like, I just remember watching Monday Night Raw as a kid and him coming out and doing all these crazy things. And I never thought that he would like ever just like, you know, be at my house, you know, pulling all-nighters, editing, you know, and then go to the diner the next day, you know, so it's crazy.
Nuts. Just, it's just one of those just like pinch me moments. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, where do you get your ideas from for these docs? Because the subject matter is so varied. You know, you're going from conspiracy theories about Bill Murray to Barney the Dinosaur or whatnot. Where are you getting these ideas from?
Yeah. Well, the doc, did you guys see the Barney doc yet?
It's not available here, so.
Yeah. I actually have to find out. It should be somewhat soon. I would hope so. But like, you know, the Barney doc isn't really a doc about Barney, but so much like exploring like why do we hate the things we hate, you know? And I had watched this news broadcast from 1993. It was they were covering a 1993 University of Nebraska Barney bashing event. It was at a college. And all these kids were like beating up dolls of Barney, ripping them up, throwing darts at them. And at the end, the newscaster goes, "Oh, that's the future of our country right there," you know? And I was like, oh, we're living in that future now, you know? I was like, I wonder if we can explore love and hate, but through Barney the Dinosaur. And that's kind of how we told the story. And even Bill Murray stories, you know, you're taking these Bill Murray stories, but at the end, we're talking about like living in the moment and being present. Santa Claus, yeah, look, these guys are dressed like Santa, and one of them's drunk and one's a swinger, but we're talking about like identity and community and all that sort of stuff. So we try to make these sort of Trojan horse movies where, you know, you walk in with something shiny, Santa, Barney, Bill Murray, and at the end you're like, I never saw that coming. It's like you think about something in a completely different way. I don't know. It's weird to think that like, where do I come up with them? But I just like walk around, I think. You know, I just look at things, you know. Santa was just walking around the mall. Bill Murray was Blue Meanie, told me a Bill Murray story. And I was like, why does he do that? You know, it's always, I guess, asking the question why, you know?
I love that. Is there any docs like you've had ideas for, but you couldn't make them for whatever reason that might be?
Yeah, we tried to pitch this one about why we romanticize the bank robber. You know, I found out. Yeah, I found out that like 4 people I knew had robbed banks, and I instantly thought they were so much cooler. You know, like so we were trying to. I spent like a year developing this. It never happened, but I talked to people in prison. I talked to people who were out of prison that robbed banks and different things. And I just wanted to do a doc about robbing. It was going to be called Everybody Freeze. You know, and I thought that was like a clever name, you know, right?
Yeah. That's amazing.
I've lost myself. Oh, there I am. So the Bill Murray documentary, obviously.
Yeah.
Before that, you were the editor on Ghost Heads, the Ghostbusters.
Producer and editor, yeah.
Producer, yeah. I knew. I was close. I did my
I
research.
I did both. So you're half.
So you that got you into the editing room. So like, is there anything you can't do?
Well, I saw there's a lot. A lot is the answer.
Okay.
Is one of them. But no. Well, so I edit Santa. I edited Murray. I edited Waldo. I didn't edit Barney, but I'm editing this house doc. I did. I edited everything that I've directed except for Barney. And with Ghost Heads, it was just like in so many ways it felt like a sequel to Santa Claus because it's like, you know, you're just taking one fandom and removing it. You know, like you're following around these Ghostbuster fans, we were following around Santas. You know, so Brendan Merton. So it's kind of a long story. How can I
go for it? We got time.
We were filming Bill Murray stories, and I was like, "Oh, we should interview like Ghostbuster fans," because having done Santa, we were at New York Comic Con, and I ran into people who dressed like Ghostbusters. So I was like, "Oh, we should interview them." And in doing so, I found out there was this guy in Canada, Brendan Mertens, who was doing a Ghostbusters fan documentary. So I told him, I was like, "Hey, dude," I was like, "I'm interviewing some Ghostbusters in New Jersey. Do you want me to film anything for your documentary? And if you ever come across Dan Aykroyd and Ivan Reitman, film stuff for me for Bill Murray stories, and we kind of like swap footage, you know, and like sort of like help each other out." That was like my initial idea. And then as soon as I interviewed this guy, Tom Gebhardt, who's a New Jersey Ghostbuster, I was like, "Oh, I know how to tell the story." It was a lot like our Santa Russell from Santa Claus. And so I told Brent, I was like, "Dude, if you need any help, I totally help you out with this movie." So he's like, "Yeah." So I was a producer and I just sort of edited the project because I just knew how to tell that story. So I paused on Bill Murray and went to do Ghost Heads. And then some people invested a little bit in Ghost Heads and we made their money back pretty fast. And they're like, "Do you have anything next that you want to do?" And like already had this footage of Bill Murray stories. And we're like, "This." And they're like, "Let's do it." And I just been partners with that guy ever since.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Raymond Esposito. I should probably mention his name and not just say that guy.
What makes me laugh with the Bill Murray story, though, is like maybe it's just because we live on an island on the other side of the world, but is there really that many conspiracy theories about Bill Murray? Like, am I missing something here?
I get nervous when you keep saying the word conspiracy theory because conspiracy theory kind of comes with a negative connotation nowadays. You know, urban legends is what we like to call.
We'll go with that one. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, some of them. I mean, we flew all the way to London to do the one. What didn't happen in London, but the guy lives in St. Andrews at the time. The dishwashing story. Bill Murray went to a house party in St. Andrews, right? That's Scotland, right?
Yeah, yes, it is.
Yeah. So where did we film in London?
I don't know, wasn't there?
There's like you feel free to cut this part out while I'm thinking. But we interviewed, it wasn't in London, but it was like some like shore sort of town in London, maybe like 2 hours out. God, where would that have been?
Bournemouth, Southampton, Brighton.
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 Yeah, so that's where the interview is, Brighton. So the guy lived in Brighton, but he went to university at St. Andrews. And we went all there because there was one picture in I guess like 2012 where Bill Murray randomly went to a house party and just started cleaning people's dishes, you know, and like so yeah, I mean, like we over here get more Bill Murray stories because he lives out here, you know. But like he's definitely gone into at least Scotland, St. Andrews, because it's like the oldest golf range, you know, and there's like they always have the celebrities out there for the golf tournaments and stuff. So that's why he's there. If there's golf or a movie premiere, there's gonna be Bill Murray stories somewhere around those stories, you know.
I'm actually going to the Ghostbusters fire station in 3 weeks. I'm going to New York in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Are you coming just for that, or?
No, it's because me and the missus are going away for a week. But it just so happens that Monday Night Raw's in Brooklyn on the first night I'm there. Nice. So I'm going to that, which is fucking sick. And then we're going to see She wants to do Sex in the City, so I was like, well, I'll do Ghostbusters at the same time.
Perry Street, yeah. That's right. But then I'm just finishing up the documentary about people who live in famous houses. So I'm very familiar with Perry Street, Sarah Jessica Parker's spot. Yeah, the Firehouse is great too. I was just at Raw 30 in Philly, and it was great.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've just watched that. Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
but just for nostalgia
Hogan
alone.
comes out, Undertaker, yeah.
It was just Lesnar at the end. I wasn't expecting. That was the best bit.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't like saying bad things about anybody. I've never really followed. I guess Brock Lesnar's okay. But I just never liked the big guys. I'm not a Goldberg fan, like.
Yeah, oh God, no.
Yeah. But yeah.
But before we talk about like what you're working on and promoting at the moment, I did want to touch upon the fact, like you mentioned with Ghost Heads, you help other people make their own docs of producing them or what. And there's a standout one for me, and that's This Is GWAR. Because I remember we saw the trailer for it at Bloodstock Music Festival. As GWAR were about to go on stage, it's playing on the side of the stage. And as soon as I got home, I was like, I need to watch this goddamn documentary. And luckily for me, it was on Shudder over here, so I got to watch it. And it's amazing. It blew me away. How did you get involved with this project? Did you already know of GWAR and whatnot?
Well, so the great thing about GWAR is I knew them from Empire Records. And when Bam show, they would just pop up on these things every once in a while, but I didn't know nothing about them as a band. I just knew them as these things, these crazy characters. But Scott Barber is the director, and his first documentary was this documentary called The Orange Years, which is like the beginning years of Nickelodeon. And I kind of like helped from afar on that movie. Like I at the time was producing a documentary that was like, I never finished this doc, but it was like similar in IP, So like I didn't want to have two docs that were like similar, but I really liked what he was doing, and I knew how I could help out. Like I pointed him like with a producer that I knew was like, oh, this producer would be perfect for you, and I helped him get like Mark Summers and Donkey Lips and a couple other people on the things. I just kind of like helped from the sidelines, just because I wanted to see the movie get made. And we were just talking, and he's like, oh, I got this other idea for my next movie about GWAR. I was like, oh, I'm in. I love the idea of GWAR, having never seen them play or any of that sort of stuff. Just these small little areas of what I knew them by. I just wanted to know more, So I was able to help like with like Alex Winter and like Ethan Ombre and all that sort of stuff. Bam's in the movie for a minute, but it was cool. I'm really happy the way that turned out. We premiered at, oh my God, where did we premiere? But that is like the Austin sort of a horror movie festival. I forget what it's called.
The one thing I took away from it, which I wasn't expecting so much emotion.
Oh well, that's the key, man. You gotta get people crying.
But you don't watch a documentary about GWAR and think, I'm feeling really emotional right now. It's
Well, I mean, I like to think a lot of our docs, even if I didn't direct them and I just produced them, they're they have that sort of heart in that you remind people that they're all human. Especially like with the Waldo story, it's like human people went through this, and GWAR, it's these aliens and all that sort of stuff. But they're really people doing this stuff. And I think a lot of times people just forget that people are human beings, and yeah. I think our docs sort of remind people that that's what this thing is. Even like Santa Claus, it's like, here's a stranger that's in your family photo every year, but like, what's he doing for the rest of the time? We forget about that guy, So it's just reminding people that they're human, and human stories comes things that you connect with and get emotional about.
I love that. I love the fact you do that in all your docs. Like you say, no matter what the story is, there's that human emotion, there's that connection. It's great, no matter what the concept of the story about it is. It's amazing that you do that.
I'm just embarrassed that I can't remember where we premiered. So I'm like looking it up. I'm trying to how would I look up my own thing? I don't know, man. It was like here it is.
Ah.
No, I can't tell.
was gonna
I
start
see the
looking.
laurels, but it's not big enough. All right. You keep talking. I'll find it.
I just love how much it's bugging you. Like, I need to know this before I can move on.
But, you were in so you did movies before you did documentaries, right? Because I've got here Booted, Mancation, Calendar Girl, etc.
Yeah. I mean, they're okay. Miss December is good. Fantastic Fest. Boom. Yes.
Yes.
It feels better now.
Yeah. Well, Buddha never got done. Just a case of like independent filmmaking stories. But Mancation is something I really don't brag about.
Okay, fair.
But Miss December turned out good. Kevin Smith released that for us. Gilbert Godfrey is in it. Corbin Burnson. It's fun, dark comedy, and what it was like I wanted to be Kevin Smith, but I wasn't feeling like directing was where I was shining at the moment, So I was like, well, let me see these skills I have in putting things together. Could I be using them for other people's stuff, And I think Miss December was the better of those movies you mentioned.
Yeah.
Especially since one of them it's not done. It's never going to be done. But so I definitely would love to like get back into scripted space. I've toyed around with the idea of like doing like a short, doing the sort of what's it called? You just do a short film first, kind of fix whatever problems you might have, and then to make the narrative. Like Napoleon Dynamite did that, and Super Troopers guys did that. It's the I was trying to think of the one director. I'm blanking, guys. I'm sorry. Finding my.
It's all good. The power of editing, Tommy. The power of editing. You're all good.
I should have had a cup of coffee for you. Who? Duplass. Duplass brothers. Mark Duplass had a great speech at one of the South by events, and he was talking about how you make the short and then you do the feature and all sort of stuff. So I've been thinking about it, but as I'm finishing up the Houseless documentary. I'm producing this other doc that's we're just gonna start working on soon. But then also like just pitching the new thing that I would direct. I think the scripted things are down the road, but it's something I still want to do.
Definitely.
Yeah, the door's not fully closed.
No. Especially I always know not to do it with my friends because I'm not good at it.
When I was
They'll be the first ones to admit it, so I'm not gonna say anything bad. And they won't listen to the podcast, so it's fine.
When I was looking through the films that he'd worked on, the scripted films, one thing that surprised me, because I was a huge Jackass fan growing up, and I've never heard of Living Will. Ryan Dunn and Bam Margera in this. I was like, how have I never heard of this?
Yeah, well, I did very, 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 very little on that one. I'm just an associate producer, but yeah, Ryan Dunn, because like for where I am is 40 minutes from Westchester. So it's like we're always this sort of like closeness to it. And two friends of mine, Roy and Joe, they worked on Viva La Bam in I think like a smaller way. And they had this like their own production company and they wrote a script called Living Will. And, Ryan was just really ready to act and was into it. And like, he's just so funny. Yeah. And they put that together. Bam did like a small cameo. But it's really like a Ryan Dunn vehicle, and I was able to help out just by getting a couple things going for them. That's about it. But yeah, it turned out good. I guess you can get on Amazon. I haven't thought about that movie in a long, long time. I have a copy of it downstairs. I have like a video store down my basement, so that's what I was trying to visualize where it was,
I'm gonna have to hunt it down because I was like, why have I not seen this?
Yeah, well, let's see. I looked up Fantastic Fest. Let's see if we can look up Living Will. I bet my friends because no, Lionsgate released it, so it's gotta be. I don't know where it would be over with you guys though.
Yeah, we don't get anything over here. Our Netflix, Disney Plus, everything's all shit over here compared to yours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you get.
So does it do you? Because like I can't play PAL, but like, can you guys? You don't have any like NTSC sort of stuff, do you?
I don't think so anymore. No.
I remember you used to be able to play multi-region DVD players back in the day, but
do the regions not count anymore?
I don't think so.
Oh,
Not
really?
on consoles. On consoles, I don't.
Oh, consoles. Yeah. I'm an adult and I have a Blu-ray player. I don't have an X-Pack or a PlayStation or anything. Yeah, you can get the DVDs on Amazon.
I'll have to have a look for that. Amazing. So I can only imagine, like, you've learned some amazing facts and information that you probably had like no idea about in your career making these docs. Are there any like standout things that you've learned? You've just gone, what? This is a thing?
Right. Oh, what are some things? Well, I mean, I have an associate's degree in Santa Clausology, so I know a lot of. And it's sadly my highest educational degree. So yeah, I know a lot about Santas. I know a lot about how to rob a bank.
Perfect. Let's do it together. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I knew a lot about cannabis for a minute, but I feel like I instantly forgot that because it's like with the cannabis stuff, it's like it's so science stuff. So it's like I knew it for like a month or two, and then I let it all release. I didn't need it anymore. It's amazing how many weird things I do know, but none of them are coming to my mind. I know a lot about famous houses right now. There's one block in South Pasadena, California, that it's Biff's house from Back to the Future, right? And then if you watch Back to the Future 2, you know how he kicks the ball on the roof of that one house?
Yes.
Just say yes. It doesn't matter.
Yes, I remember clearly. Yes.
So that's Luke Wilson's house from
Old School.
Old School, yeah. From Old
This
School.
is the first Luke Wilson film I thought of. That went well.
So here's your everything, right? So that was Luke Wilson's house from Old School, and then right next to that is Lorraine's house from Back to the Future, which is also the same house as Teen Wolf, like that movie. And then a couple houses down is George McFly's house. And then a couple houses down over there is the house from Ghost Dad. And if you go directly across the street, there's the house from 30-something, which is like an old show that you may not remember. But it's like all these things on one block. It's just crazy.
Do people actually live in them?
Oh, yeah, they all do, yeah.
Do you reckon the people are there going, like, get off my lawn? What are you doing?
Well, I mean,
yeah,
I mean, not so much that street because they appreciate it there, but like Goonies and Breaking, like the Walter White house from Breaking Bad, they have really poor relationships with their fans because the fans from Walter White used to throw pizza on the roofs because of season 3, But like I'm so into the houses thing right now, like I'm editing it, and I had a dream last night that I was in the Boy Meets World house, just filming. Like, that was my dream. And I was like so into it. I was like, because I've always wanted to go to that house, but they never responded back to me. But I was rewatching Donnie Darko. Do you guys see that movie?
Great film. Nope. Confusing as fuck, but it's a great film.
Yeah. So I was watching it and I looked at the house. It's like, that house looks very familiar. I was like, I wonder where that really is. And the street that it's on, I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's a 3-minute walk from the Ferris Bueller house. So like my mind was being blown that these houses lived in the same area. So in theory, because Donnie Darko is based in the 80s. So Donnie Darko and Ferris Bueller could have really gone to the same school or some of the, well, no, not the same school because Donnie Darko went to like a Catholic school or at least like a private school. And Ferris Bueller went to public. So they had to know the same people, so these are the things I think about.
That's incredible.
I love that. I absolutely love the sound of this house's doc. I'm so excited to be able to see it. But where did the idea come from? It's such a random subject choice.
I used to always, go. I love being. I think I've mentioned Kevin Smith multiple times now, but I was not too far away from. Nice. What was the tattoo?
The silhouette of Kevin with his signature underneath it.
Oh, nice.
Turn you around the other way around.
It's a bit awkward to do that.
But I've been to his house twice. And I peed in his bathroom, and I was like, I bet J-Lo has been on this toilet before because Ben Affleck.
That's a good point.
You know, and one of my favorite moments is being in his house is like when it was me, my wife, and Mick Foley leaving his house, and Kevin's like gave us directions on how to leave, and I just thought, this guy that I've like worshipped my whole life is like giving directions to leave. I don't know why that was funny to me, but like it was just very very funny.
Whilst with Mick Foley.
Yeah. But like, so I used to always go to like the Quick Stop and all that RST, and like, you know, you do all those things, and you pull the milk out and all that sort of stuff. So I always had this thing for famous houses or famous locations, you know. And you know, I grew up in the Philadelphia area, and where like I'd walk by the Liberty Bell or Ben Franklin's grave or George Washington's. I couldn't care less about any of these like things. But then when I lived in California, I was like, wait, I live 10 minutes from the Wonder Years house. You know, like, are you kidding me? Like I could trick or treat at the Nightmare on Elm Street house if I wanted to. Like, it was crazy to think of that stuff. So I just thought, like, what must it be like to live in one of these houses? And I'm not sure if you're ready for all these name drops, but I was at this party with John Stamos once, and and I was talking to him, and he knew that I wanted to talk to, like, we were talking about stuff, and he knew I had this thing for famous houses. So he introduced me to Jeff Franklin, who created Full House, but at the time owned the Full House house, right? So he introduced me to Jeff, and I was like, I've been wanting to do this documentary about famous houses. You live in the Full House house. I'd love to talk to you. So he set it up where like we traded information, and we had lunch at his house. Now he at the time lived at the Charles Manson murder house.
Oh my God.
You know, Cielo Drive?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? So that house, he bought that house, knocked it down, and built this mansion, right? So we had lunch in this spot. So like he owned like the two most infamous houses in the whole entire world, two for completely different reasons, right? So I told him what I wanted to do, and he's like, well, I'll be in San Francisco in like a couple weeks. If you want to just meet me there, we can film the Full House house. So like we went there, he let us in, we interviewed him all about the Full House house, all that sort of crazy stuff. And we tried to take that material and pitch as a show, but no one wanted it. I was like, you know, forget this. I don't need anyone's permission. I'll just make it as a doc and just do it myself. You know, so that's what we did. And I filmed like 13 different houses when I lived out there. We sold Barney. I was mainly focused on that. We were a pandemic move back family, so I'm back in New Jersey. And we just finished up filming the rest of it. And now I'm just wrapping it all up. Like we just filmed the Goonies house because the new owner bought it. But other than that, we're all done filming, you know, and just putting it together. And I can tell you, we've been to Full House, Golden Girls, Friday, Pee Wee Herman, American Pie, Can't Hardly Wait, Strode's House for Halloween, Old School, Silence of the Lambs, Uncle Buck, Roseanne, Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, Home Alone, Neighbors, because we couldn't get in the Home Alone house. We talked to the neighbors. Sixth Sense, Twilight, Short Circuit, Goonies, Jesse's Mansion from Breaking Bad, Outsiders, Christmas Story, and Miss Doubtfire.
Oh,
Mrs. Doubtfire house.
Say the best to last.
Well, so we didn't go into that when we talked to the old owners. But what's so funny about the old owner is he was a very well-known plastic surgery doctor, or he used to make men's faces into women's. Like he patents some sort of thing, and that's like was his main profession. And like so he's like, oh, I gotta buy the Miss Doubtfire house, because like that, you know.
I thought that was just gonna be like a weird coincidence, but no, he was like, this is my job. I need to own the Mrs. Doubtfire.
Right. Like, he was like recently divorced, right? And he was looking for a house in San Francisco. And he's like, well, if that house is for sale, I think, he liked it. He thought it was funny. He got the bit, you know?
That's amazing. But how do you get in touch with these people? Because you don't exactly know who lives there. So
that's a tough one. Because I was developing a documentary about bank robbers, I had this service I paid for called Truth Finder, which is you pay like $30 a month. I don't think this is with you guys. It's just US stuff. But like, it was, you pay us $30 a month and you look people's information up, you know? So for bank robbers, I would try to find them by name. With this, it's like, well, I know where the address for Miss Doubtfire is. You know, and you can just find people's records. So I would find their email and all that sort of stuff. If that didn't work, and sometimes it didn't, you know, I would just write them a letter. You know, I would write them a letter to the house and try to make like some fancy, like, you know, letter with like a fun stamp, a fun colored envelope. And, you know, some of the people just wrote back to letters, you know?
That's
I
awesome.
think people still do that.
Huh? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't really-
Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
It's like when vinyl came back.
It was true, some people answered emails, some people asked letters. The Pee-wee house they were renovating, I just left my card to the workers and they gave it to the person. And you know, some people just didn't get back to me. You know, I really wanted to go to the Boy Meets World house. I really wanted to go to Wonder Years house, but it just didn't work out.
I was going to say, was there any like you were desperate to get to but you couldn't get to? But...
Or you just were desperate, but I wanted to. Like, this is like a fan, you know. Like, I don't know how much I could talk about this. So I found out who owned the Freddy Krueger house, and I found out that a friend of mine knew that person, but that person was like a well-known. She was a director, and I was like, there's no way she would want to do it because she's not going to be like, this is where I live, you know, like, so, you know, so I couldn't get into that. And I knew him well, but I didn't know her at all. But I just knew, like, you know, of some of her films, but I wanted to go there. But she sold the house anyway, but like, that would have been cool. And Wonder Years and Boy Meets World would have been cool. But like, it's just funny for me to have like peed in so many famous houses, you know, like, you know, it's a thing I never thought I could brag about, but you know.
You don't need the bathroom, which is like, can I use the toilet while I'm here?
Yeah. Well, I always have to pee. I'm always drinking water and all that sort of stuff. So it's, you know, you're traveling all these places to go to all this distance to go to some of these places. But like, Full House was the funniest because we were just there, and like Jeff doesn't really live there, so he just kind of was like letting us do whatever we wanted, and it was so weird. Like walking out of that house was like a Backstreet Boy walking out of like the Jet in their like music videos. Like I just open it up and there's just people already on the steps, and they don't want to move. You know, yes, I don't live there, but they don't know that. Like I'm literally walking out of the house. You would think they would get out of the way, but no, they didn't. You know, so it's just like it's just crazy. There wasn't a time when I looked out the window there wasn't at least one person outside taking a photo.
That's nuts.
Although, talking of the Boy Meets World house, I couldn't imagine living next to my head teacher when I was a kid. Like, hell no.
Wait, what's that?
In the Boy Meets World, obviously, he lives next door to his head teacher, isn't it?
It's principal, yeah.
Yeah, principal, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Head teacher. Yeah. British, sorry. I apologize.
Yeah.
Principal, yeah. But all I remember from Boy Meets World, I used to love it when I was younger. And all I remember is his older brother, Eric's been like, Hina.
Yeah. Well, what's so funny is like that show took place in Philly. I was from the Philadelphia area. My principal was my neighbor, and my best friend would get into trouble all the time. So like I like completely like connected with that show in such a way. So like I'm really enjoying listening to like the Pod Meets World podcast. I actually, when Waldo and we played Tribeca, there was a Tribeca party in Beverly Hills someplace, and Ryder Strong was there, and I was like, I gotta get my picture.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. Big fan of Ryder Strong. Cabin Fever, come on.
That's amazing.
Incredible.
So obviously you said you're working on the editing and everything now. Have you got an idea of a release date, or do you still
Yeah, we just, you know, I was thinking about to rush editing for some festivals and stuff like that, but I don't know, we're gonna self-release this one because we just know enough about like the independent scene where it's like, well, it doesn't make sense to go to any sort of like smaller spot. We'll just release it ourselves. So it's all a matter. Like I was gonna try to race for like submission deadlines, but I also feel like I'm too old for that nowadays. You know, like it's just a lot of work. Yeah, it will either be probably middle of 2023 or the beginning of 2024. It all depends when we finish it. and we would like to have like a big premiere, and we just have to figure out strategically, like, does that make sense? Should we wait for a festival, or should we just play it somewhere like in New York or like Kevin Smith's theater or something like that? Like, so we just all figured all that stuff, so it's just trying to figure out the game plan. So it's either middle of 2023 or beginning of 2024.
Amazing. I can't wait to be able to watch it. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's fun. It feels very much like Bill Murray Stories 2. Because it's like Bill Murray Stories was like, these sort of vignettes that all were glued together that at the end made a point, and this is like, it's somewhat like that. You're starting with the Pee Wee house and going into like Jesse's mansion from Breaking Bad. And then there's one house it's called the Rubio house because it's like on Rubio Street in Altadena, California. But American Pie was filmed there. Can't Hardly Wait. This Is Us. Cheaper by the Dozen. Like all your show like CIS or NCI, whatever. All those shows were there. Always Sunny in Philadelphia shot there. Ghost Whisperer shot there. It's like she's just going through the house and like this shot here, this shot there. So it's just crazy to see like this one location in so many different movies and TV shows. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's so cool. I didn't even think about that. A lot of these houses just get reused over and over.
Yeah,
again.
they totally do. And it's like and some of them is like it's crazy to think of what appears in. Like there's that iconic scene in Halloween where like Michael Myers is like by the bushes.
Mm-hmm.
There's that reverse shot where you see Laurie Strode, and Jamie Lee Curtis, and one of the houses behind her is the house from that Mama's House. Remember that show, Mama's House?
The name sounds familiar, but I can't think of him.
There's a movie, Big Mama's House.
Huh?
Is it the movie with Martin Lawrence, Big Mama's House?
No, Mama's House. Yeah, okay. Let's see here. Let's see.
I'm showing my ignorance. Sorry about that.
No, it's I can't share my screen. Here, I'm just gonna take a picture and I'll show it on my phone. You probably will never know what this is, but like,
no, I've never.
Yeah, no, that's not.
Well, then the joke's not funny. Cut it out. But yeah, it's this old show. It had a bunch of people dressed like they're older. And it's just funny to think that house is in the background of Halloween.
To be fair, it's not where you'd expect that to be. No.
Right. Well, it's just and was it? I think it's like I'm almost positive of this. I have to recheck it because I haven't ended the scene yet. But Rob Zombie's Halloween, that house is Michael Jordan's house in Space Jam.
What?
Yeah.
Fucking hell!
That's amazing. That might be my favorite one so far. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's weird how that stuff happens,
Do you get like
right next to that house is the house from Liar Liar, like it's right next to it.
Oh, what a film!
Yeah,
I love that film so much. Yeah, it's incredible. Oh wow!
I mean,
yeah. Do you get like much backlash from your documentaries at all? Like people being like, having a go or being like, "Why? What? What's this?" Like, especially with the Barney the Dinosaur one.
Backlash. I don't know. I mean, like I remember when Ghost Heads played Tribeca, people were upset that we like focused like on one guy, and some like idiot was like, "It shouldn't be called Ghost Heads. It should be called Ghost Head." And like they were just like really like upset that like we were following around this one person and not them. So I just sent them a link to a camera on Amazon. I said, "Make your own goddamn movie."
Yeah.
I get so mad about that stuff. But like Barney, maybe some people, I don't know. I don't if they did, I don't really. I guess I don't pay too much attention to it. The only thing that ever stuck out was like. The only thing I stuck out was like the Ghost Heads thing because I was like, I just remember being so angry about that. Like
yeah.
It's one of the greatest replies in history. That's why. That is just
well, we got like some grief from that movie, and it was anyone who was upset about it was just upset they weren't in it, and so it's like it was very obvious. Like I remember like we played a work in progress of that movie at Tribeca, and this one woman was like, "Don't you feel like there should be more women in your movie? It's mostly men." I was like, "Absolutely." I was like, "Actually, we're going to be adding this other scene with this other lady and all that sort of stuff." And I told her like the storyline that we're going to put in there, and she's like, "Yeah, but what about others?" And I was like, "Do you mean your daughter, who's also a Ghostbusters fan?" And it's like that's what you're really asking, you know? So it's funny when you can like strip away like and find the intention of the question, you know?
Yeah. I think because a lot of people like to hate online, don't they? A lot of people like to complain rather than praise and be like, yeah, this is absolutely... A lot of people love to go online and be like, oh my God, this is awful, blah, 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 like being keyboard warriors.
Well, yeah, we hit up on some of that stuff in Barney. And like, you know, I think my favorite thing when I was reading like some of the tweets about Barney is like, because I think a lot of people will see that and go, oh, it's just going to be a documentary about Barney, but it gets intense, you know? And my favorite tweets were like people going, this Barney doc's crazy, you know? And like, I just love that. But like, I just like, you know, we talk about hate in that, and we interview a former neo-Nazi, you know? So like, it goes there, you know? And I think some people, if you talk about like backlash, might have people thought like some things we were saying could have been a stretch, you know, but what are you going to do, you know?
Well, yeah.
You can't win them all.
Exactly. I think I worded my question.
One of my favorite tweets, and I think I saved the picture. Let's see. It's one of my favorites. Hold on.
You know it's good when you screenshot it to keep it. That's you know, got a good tweet there.
Yeah, so it says, well, this Barney documentary is taking quite a turn, right? And it just has a screenshot from the movie.
Yeah.
And it's just her saying, I'm a former neo-Nazi white supremacist. So that's my favorite.
Amazing. Bob, I know you're still working on the current documentary, The Houses, but I know how creative brains work when we talk to people on this show. Do you have an idea of what you want to work on next? Are you already working on something else?
Yeah, well, I just printed out my vision board today. But yeah, there's a couple of things we're pitching. You know, there's one that I'm producing that we're started, but we haven't announced yet. And a couple of things, you know, I'm either up for or pitching. So yeah, I mean, I should be done the houses in a couple months. And in that time, we'll hopefully have, you know, the next thing set up or whatever. But yeah, there's a couple different things that like feels like very Barney-like that we're going to be like kind of going down that avenue. So yeah, it's just fun stuff, you know. I want to do a doc on like kids bowling because it's like crazy intense like stuff because my son just got into bowling, but that seems like an idea that's harder to sell, you know. Like it's not like Barney the Dinosaur and you're interviewing Blue's Clues and Bill Nye, you know.
I'm surprised you haven't wanted to do a wrestling documentary, being such a big fan.
Well, I mean, I do have a lot of wrestling in it. I tried to pitch an Andy Kaufman documentary focusing on his wrestling angle in Memphis. Like, that was the closest I got to doing a wrestling documentary. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's like, sure, I would love to do that. Like, I was trying to, when A&E was doing their wrestling things, I was trying to go out for the Rowdy Roddy Piper doc because I was like, I'm perfect for that because I just love heels, you know? And Piper's in Santa Claus. So it just totally made sense for me, but they did not agree. But yeah, I feel like I could do something with that stuff, but it's like, yeah, I would love to do one on Jericho, but like I know Jericho doesn't really want your typical sort of doc, like he was born here and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe there's something in the future, but like I don't think I could ever do like a straightforward wrestling doc. It'd have to be something like that sort of touches wrestling, but not all the way, you know?
Phenomenal. I'm so excited to see what you're working on next. Because like I say, every time I look at one of your projects, I want to watch that. That sounds amazing. I want to watch that.
I appreciate that.
I'm really looking forward to it. Before we let you go, Mr. Stevens, do you have any more questions for our wonderful guests?
I do. I have two. Tommy, who's winning the Royal Rumble?
Ooh.
That is not a quick answer. So I want Sami Zayn to win.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm afraid. Like, does The Rock come back and then do the Rumble? Is that what's going to work? Because that would be as much as I love The Rock, it's like it's sort of like you got The Rock and Brock Lesnar beforehand and Edge. Like you want like a guy that's gonna win the belt for the first time. Like you want that Daniel Bryan or that Kofi Kingston. Oh, Kofi never won the Rumble, but like you want that sort of like thing. And since there's only one champion now, it's like you only have one moment at that. Like I want to see The Rock and Roman Reigns as much as the next guy, but like I would love to see Sami Zayn or like Kevin Owens or a Cody Rhodes win the belt at Mania for the first time. So I don't know. I would love it to be Sami, but I don't think that would be the case. Who do you?
Sami Zayn. I as much as I want Cody, I don't want Cody. I think Cody winning is too obvious. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of people would see that coming, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Whereas, could you imagine the crowd reaction if Sami Zayn wins the title at Mania? Could you imagine that roof will disappear?
Yeah. So Cody needs to win at some point because he's amazing. But
yes, I agree.
Sami is so homegrown in the way Daniel Bryan and Kofi. You would just have men in their 40s crying.
Yeah.
I know I would. I cried when Kofi Kingston won. I was like tearing, like just like sobbing. I was like, I'm so proud of this guy that I've never met.
I'm a massive Daniel Bryan fan, so I was just gutted, absolutely gutted. Obviously watching him in AEW is just phenomenal. Okay, so we'll see what happens tomorrow night. I'm buzzing. It's insane. Anyway,
tomorrow, yes.
Yeah, it is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot wait. Lastly, when you first started out, wanting to pursue a career, filmmaking, doing documentaries, etc., did you ever think that this is where you would be today?
Oh, well, do you think where I'm at is in a good spot?
I think you're smashing it. I think
Okay.
I think you can only go further more than anything. But I mean, like, pissing at Kevin Smith's house, hanging out with Mick Foley, having Al Snow, Tommy Dreamer and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, just really mental, like hanging out with Bill Murray and all that sort of, like, it just...
I never hung out with him. I've been in the same room with him, but he has no idea.
Oh, okay. Oh.
But no, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, there was definitely visions of what I wanted to be, and I'm not there yet, but I'm also very comfortable in where I am now. But it's weird. Like, I just like, because I always wanted to do scripted stuff, and the docs, like, I just fell in love with making the docs, and the docs life is just different than a scripted one. Like, I think there's a lot of projection. Like, I remember, like, I'm not sure if you guys ever followed like indie hip hop at one point, but like, do you ever like Cage or Sage Francis or A$AP Rock or any of those guys?
I know A$AP Rock, yeah.
Okay, so like you'd follow like these guys, like, and you go, oh, they must be so successful and all that sort of stuff, but they're just like hustling it and struggling, because they're an indie artist, And I think of like with me, where it's like, I'm like, oh, I think I'm in that spot where they were, where it's like, I don't think anyone knows who I am. I think, but people knows the work I've done, and but like, it's not like I can just be like, oh, what's next? It's like it's like I almost have to go on a job interview like every like year and a half, 2 years, and I hate job interviews, So it's like I'm happy exactly where I am, but like I guess I never pictured this part of it. What, like, I think I still have room to be to where I guess I pictured. I don't know. I think I got a little too serious for you. Here's a question for you. So when you watch the Royal Rumble, I'm going to be watching it at 8:00. What time will you be watching it? Because it has to be right in the morning or something.
It'd be at 1 a.m. So I'll be watching it Sunday. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're not watching it live. So you're just away from social media.
Oh yeah. I'm unfortunately we're going to a spa day for the morning, so I'm going to leave my phone at home. I'm not taking it with me at all. Because I told my other half, I was like, because she's not a wrestling fan. I was like, you have no idea how much I cannot see any results. Like, it's just, this is the best event of the year, in my opinion. And the Royal Rumble is the greatest. I love it so much.
Yeah.
And you guys have the WWE Network out there, or?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, because we're on Peacock, so we don't have the network.
Yeah, it gets promoted, but I have no idea. We don't have it here. So it's like we don't have Hulu. And I see Hulu get promoted everywhere. It's like we don't have that here either.
Huh. Interesting. But yeah, when I lived in LA, it was great. I was like, Monday Night Raw at 5 p.m. sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah, literally, it's 1 a.m. here. It's we have to watch it the next day. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's 3 hours as well. So I'll be sat at 4 a.m. like, I've got to be up to work in 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell no.
Before we let you go, though, do you have any plugs, social medias, websites you want people to go check out?
Yeah, just I guess my name is mostly I live more on Instagram than anything, but like it's Tommy Avallone, Avallone, and then number 3. That's my Instagram. But yeah, but the website's Double Windsor Films, but like they just all tag to, I guess, the IMDb links. You know, there's not really. I think who really has websites anymore? It's just kind of banks so that way I can use like the email address.
Beautiful. Tommy, thank you so much for your time, my friend.
Thank you guys. It's so great talking to you guys.
Absolutely.
Talking to anyone with a British accent is so wonderful. It's so charming. It feels like I'm intelligent just by proxy. So it's soothing. So yeah. Enjoy it.
Please. Look after yourself. Enjoy your pizza, my friend. Take care of yourself.
Take it easy. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Just superb. And any man that tells us that its mission in life is to pee in as many celebrities' bathrooms as physically possible is a hero in my eyes.
Absolutely. This is incredible. I also want to reiterate, I was not throwing shade at Chris Jericho, okay? The man's a legend, a God-given talent, entertainer. He is unbelievable. But I was merely the fact that I just don't like the JS. That's all. It was almost like just a bit of banter. But I think he took it a little bit personally. I didn't mean it that way. I just, Jericho forever will get anything over because that's how great he is. So yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that before people start having to go. And we also hope that you guys enjoyed listening to it as much as we did recording it. Tommy, thank you so much.